So I want you to just kind of go back to where we started, to what you were experiencing, and then just follow up with the progress and then where we are today.
Okay. Well, my son was going through some tremendously hard times. He had some extreme behaviors, and we think it started with the death of his grandfather or possibly experimenting with drugs. We weren't really sure. And just all of a sudden, it was just the activity, his behavior was really odd and so scary that we had to actually have him admitted to a mental hospital. He actually was in the hospital 3 different times within a 3-period month. And it was so scary. It was one of the most scariest things I've ever gone through in my life, to see him behave that way, bleaching clothes, wandering around the neighborhood without asking, just being belligerent, cursing at me, something he's never done. And this has all happened just so suddenly. The doctors, they put him on several medications. He had several testings done. They didn't really know. He was basically undetermined diagnosis of possibly bipolar with a psychotic episode is what they told me. He missed so much school. He got behind so far in his classes, his grades. He wasn't able to play in sports teams that he's played for all his life. And then I was introduced to holistic healing through a friend of mine, and it was really, I was very doubtful. I had never really heard of it. I didn't understand it, and I never forget, I was told it's like when you change the television station with the remote, you don't know exactly how it happens. You just know it works. And I would try anything. I was willing to try anything, and I want to say within the first session that we had, I noticed a change, and I was told to look for changes with him, and I noticed a change when he came back from the hospital. He actually wasn't even aware of what was going on, that he was even a part of this, and I just noticed these changes, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's a coincidence. Okay, I'm for it. I like coincidences too. And then I just kept seeing increasingly different changes. I want to say by the third session or so, the behaviors just stopped. They just stopped. It was amazing. He came back to me when the doctors told me that my son would never come back, that he would always be medicated and he'd probably get worse. He would never lead an ordinary life. They told me that this was just it. So to see those changes, and they weren't like 100% right from the beginning, but at first, when it was such a great change, it was such a big change to where we were able to get him weaned off the medicine that he was taking, getting him on vitamins that helped him. I couldn't imagine a better situation. So that was about 2 years ago, and now my son, he's just graduated from high school. He's 17. He just graduated in May. And I want to say last week I took him and dropped him off to college, and he is doing well. He's playing football, and he's starting on the team as a safety. He's doing so well. And we actually look back at those times and just like, wow, can you believe where we used to be? Can you believe where he was? And he just, I just feel so blessed to have gone through this and to have come out strong, because I was so scared. And I still am not sure exactly everything on how it all worked, but it worked for us. And I was always told that, I was not guaranteed any results. But I got the results and plus some. I believe I got more than what I expected, and I'm just so very grateful that my son is much better.
Thank you. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to just...
I don't even remember. I was looking back to my, kind of looking back on some of the emails we had, and I was trying to remember how long. I think from the course of our emails, it may have been like 2 or 3 months. Do you know how long?
That's phenomenal, because it was actually only 3 sessions. It was only like 3 or 4. And the time period is just because I allow 2 weeks in between to process, what has just taken place. So it would be a session, wait 2 weeks and then a session, then we wait 2 weeks. And it's amazing because when we first started, remember, I didn't have access to him. I had to do it through you.
Right. Exactly.
Then,
that's when I really was like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to go ahead and try it. I was actually sitting, I'll never forget, I was sitting in my room, and I had a pen and paper, and I'm jotting down this, and I'm sitting here with this look on my face like, yeah, right. I meant to tell you that. Like, I was really, I mean, I told you I was doubtful, but I was like, okay, let me just see what she's talking about, because that's, you know. And I was just amazed. And the biggest thing that I remember, too, now that I'm thinking back and it's all coming back to, is that when you were telling me that he could make decisions on the medications and that you're not a doctor. You always told me you weren't a doctor and you couldn't tell me, you know, legally, of course, and you would never tell me to make him stop taking them. But you told me to let his body decide. And when we were going through the weaning process, and I opened up my hand, I put the different medicines in my hand, and I asked him, I said, choose one of these medicines, because there were many that he was on. Which one of these do you think make you feel the worst? He immediately pointed to the one that he always had been telling me it was something about that medicine. But I'm thinking, no, the doctors know. The doctors know what he needs. We immediately decreased it like by half. And this was something I did on my own as far as decreasing it. And then you told me to, I think it was you recommended some B vitamins, and I didn't know exactly which kind. And you taught me how to kind of just think about everything and have my body tell me which one was the right one. And he's been taking those since, and we haven't had. I mean, when he went off to college, I just bought him a whole big new supply of the super B complex vitamins. And it's just great. I mean, I just couldn't believe, like, I thought it was just going to be so scary, like, as far as him not being on medicine. But when he stopped being on it, it just made him so much better. Plus everything else, it was just like, wow, you know. And I was listening to the doctors.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I love the fact, too, that your doctor actually, that you didn't have problems with your doctor. The doctor actually worked with you and was like, okay, you know, if that's
He did, and that made me even so more skeptical, because I'm like, wait a minute, you made it seem like he needed this. And then when I told him he was just like, oh, okay. I'm like, so, wait a minute, he's been taking this all this time, and, you know, I was just really surprised at how I thought it was going to be a problem. I would never forget, I went in there, and I was kind of nervous. Then I was thinking I was going to lie, because I didn't know how. I thought that maybe he wouldn't see him if we weren't doing exactly what he told us. And then after we weaned him off of that, there was no need for a doctor again. He was just coming. I was just basically paying my copay every week for nothing.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, not to say, I'm sure some people, I mean, everybody's different. Not to say that some medications aren't needed, but for him, they weren't. I don't think they ever were. And I'm just so glad. Like, it's no telling. He could have still been on the medicine if had I not found you. I would have never known the wiser. I would have never thought, to try something else, some alternative, because I was so scared of anything that's not what the doctor says. You know, I think a lot of people are scared of that. It's just a fear.
They tell you that too. Some of those medications say it's worse when you start to wean them off. You know, you have to know what you're doing. And when you wean off, the symptoms can get worse. So it is kind of scary. The other thing that I remember is that the very first session, you were going to talk to him on the telephone, and you said that had never happened before, that the nurse wanted to talk to you. And she was like, I don't know.
Yes, I forgot about that.
She said, I don't know what just happened, but it's like he does not belong here. He's asking questions and, you know, just all this stuff. And she could, you know, you said, they never want to talk to me. She said, but.
Yeah, they never wanted. They always basically were saying how he was such a huge problem. He was uncontrollable. They didn't know what was wrong with him. He's on one of the stronger psychotic doses, and it doesn't seem to help. Possibly because it wasn't what he was supposed to be on in the first place. How he was just acting out. And then and you did this, and he was at the hospital, and they called me and told me that they noticed some changes, that he had been improving. And I had never gotten a call like that. All that time he was in there, everything I heard was negative, and how negative he was doing and how poorly he was behaving. You know, so I was just like, oh, my goodness, it works. It works. Look at him. He's going to be the starting football player, and he's 17. He's going to be playing with 21-year-olds in college.
I love it.
I can't believe it.